Why do buildings get more mysterious the older they are? Today, we're going to start a little series I'm calling, I don't know, kind of weird, and we'll look at a few weird objects from history. This was a particularly hard topic to approach, as there are so many oddities I've found on Library of Congress that I wasn't sure where to begin. If you're new to the channel, we look at weird stuff here. I'm less of a conspiracy theorist and more of a common sense theorist. What I mean by that is I present the facts, and by facts I mean official documents that I can find, you fact check yourself, and we both agree. I choose to use these documents because it makes the truth kind of hurt more. To be clear, I'm not trying to hurt anyone with the truth, but the more you try and fight against it, the worse your cognitive dissonance will be. Looking at pictures from the Library of Congress with your own eyes leaves the truth with nowhere to hide. The only place it can try to hide is behind whatever excuse you tell yourself when you see these pictures and think, well, that's not what they taught me in school. What you should be really asking is, how? How were massive events like the multiple World's Fairs, expositions, and exhibitions able to take place while also developing the surrounding area to include the introduction of electricity to modern life? How were they quarrying, refining, and transporting Bethel white granite over 450 miles to Detroit in the late 19th, early 20th century? Oh, did I mention that these are multi-story buildings with fantastical designs built usually within under 10 years? The point is, don't be a slave to your own knowledge. Don't let your Rothschild education system level of understanding prevent you from being able to entertain an idea. I think, therefore I am. Sometimes the people who taught us didn't even understand their own potential, so how can anyone limit yours? My purpose here isn't to free you. I want you to be mentally, spiritually, and emotionally free, but I can't want it more than you do. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to be looking at some buildings from the 19th and early 20th century and their fantastical designs and building materials. Firstly, I want to tell you about our modern-day granite refinement process for countertops. I'm going to read a quick little excerpt from a website all about granite since this was the best that I could find. Converting raw granite into countertops encompasses a series of processes involving sophisticated machinery and tools with utmost precision at each step. The initial phase involves cutting the stone into manageable blocks and slabs, using heavy-duty saws engineered to slice through granite's tensile strength. Specialized milling equipment then smoothens and shapes the slab surface to the required thickness and configuration. Finally, expert polishers enhance the stone's natural grain, imbuing it with a glossy sheen that reflects light and underscores its inherent patterns and nuances. Modern-day solutions to handling granite require special diamond tip tools and high-power water jet systems due to the high hardness and structural integrity of the material. Granite sits at a whopping 6 to 7 on the Mohs hardness scale due to its mineral makeup of mostly quartz, mica, and feldspar. Just to put it into perspective, a common object you're probably familiar with that has a similar hardness is a steel nail, at 6.5 on the hardness scale. Before 1886, a blacksmith had to forge each individual nail, made up of iron, by hand. So what were we using to handle granite back in that time? You'd need something 7 or higher on the hardness scale just to even scratch it, as to why modern quarries require diamond tip saws for efficiency. I'll quickly read an excerpt from heavyequipmentcollege.edu on heavy machinery in the late 1800s. The Second Industrial Revolution in the United States is the primary reason for the use of machines across the country, most notably in agriculture. In 1886, Benjamin Holt created his first combine harvester, followed by a steam engine tractor 4 years later in 1890. Not to be outdone, John Froelich invented the gas-powered tractor soon after that in 1892. These inventions would help pave the way for heavy equipment. So, while building all these multi-story buildings, supposedly, no one thought, man, it sure be nice if we didn't have to lift and carve everything by hand. The first track vehicle in America wasn't even created until 1906 for farming. So, how in the world were they processing the great stones seen in these pictures? You guessed it, by hand. The official narrative tells us that stonemasons meticulously carved intricate patterns into these giant slabs, all by hand. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible, that's not the argument. Obviously, with enough time and effort, anything is possible. But when we're being told all this took place within the span of less than 10 years for most of these buildings, it makes you wonder. How? The granite mines are named and we know where they are, but how are you quarrying and transporting all this material, usually hundreds of miles, putting it together under ridiculous time constraints, and building them sturdy enough that the cornerstones for most of these buildings still stand today? You'd think the late 19th, early 20th century was the age of enlightenment for building. And you know what? Let's just say it was. Let's say that somehow everywhere around the world agreed that this building style was the go-to. Why didn't we keep building like that into the 20th century? It's almost like it's because we couldn't. And if your argument is, well, we could, but it's just not cost effective or practical right now, well then, was it then? You see what I'm getting at? For the municipal group buildings in Springfield alone, the granite used for it comes from Bethel, Vermont, which is 147 miles away on modern paved roads. No such connecting roads existed in the late 19th century. Why we were building behemoths of buildings like this under horse and buggy dimes, while the builders themselves first moved into an area and lived in modest wood homes, are beyond me. But I don't know, kind of weird. Let's move on to the second set of oddities, the cathedrals. The issue with establishing the concept of forward progression is it looks great on the surface, but starts to fail when put under a microscope. After hours of scouring the Library of Congress, it seems the further you go back in time, the buildings, whether materials, scale, or practical application, seem to get more mysterious. There's a theory floating around that cathedrals were essentially power plants. Specially built buildings composed of some kind of conductive stone. Did you know, if you treat red bricks with iron oxide, the brick gains the ability to store electrical potential just as good as a supercapacitor, making it able to not only store, but conduct electricity. Quartz, well, specific types of quartz found in granite, also carry the same properties. Now, this is not to speak on the current religions occupying these 14th, 15th, and 16th century buildings. This is strictly to show the sheer scale and suggest another use for these seemingly impossible structures. Aristotle once said, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." Simply learning about alternative history is not the end of the world. In fact, it affects your current understanding only slightly. Now, what it does to your worldview moving forward, that part you can't unsee. The creator of Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, once said, "When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth." One step at a time, so let's eliminate the impossible with common sense. One of the keys to the true purpose of these buildings lies in the often overlooked part of the interior, the almost impossible designs of the stained glass windows. I've always wondered, what was the purpose for such intricate glasswork? Such incredible detail in all these old windows, it puts modern glasswork to shame. But what if they are more than just colorful artwork? Michael Tellinger, a South African researcher at the forefront of South African ancient civilization studies, has confirmed something I've always theorized. The specific designs and shapes of the windows are essentially 2D representations of frequencies. Much like how crop circles were believed to be just cool designs with hidden meanings, the design comes to life when raised up to the third dimension and beyond. What do you think happens to light or sound that passes through an already preset frequency structure? You guessed it, the energy or frequency changes. Don't believe me? Look into Dr. Emoto's work with water and frequency. Here's some pictures for a quick reference. We'll dive into frequency in a different video though. So these windows weren't simply to allow light into the building, it modified the energy coming in or going out to change it into a specific frequency. Now let's talk about what we could do if we could harness that energy. Frequencies have been proven to be able to levitate objects, kill cancer-specific cells, even change the molecular makeup of an object. I don't know, sounds like miracle work to me. Regardless of their uses, these buildings seem to also resemble modern power plants. I mean, look at this. If these buildings were filled with etheric energy instead of raw electricity, how was it being wielded? Well, it seems that the holy men of the time wore a specific uniform to be able to work in these buildings all day. Specific metal and gems were adorned. The use of hymns in conjunction with staffs almost seems like we're mimicking energy control methods. Think about it. How do you feel when singing a song in a group? You all become one, mind, body, and sound, which amplifies the collective feeling. How about a song you hear that makes your soul almost shudder? If that's not energy control, then what is? We don't need to mention the impossibility of their construction, as that was covered in the buildings that came many, many years after these cathedrals. I can't even explain 1800s construction, so where do I start with supposed Dark Age construction? We'll just leave it at, I don't know, kind of weird. The final stop in this historical construction lesson lies in the far lands of Lebanon, the temple complex of Heliopolis and Baalbek, Lebanon specifically. These absolute titanic megaliths make up some of the oldest and largest megaliths known today. Multiple expeditions to the site over the years have uncovered Persian, Bronze Age, and even Neolithic artifacts, showing the structures were used by multiple cultures, proving its settlement over thousands of years. Yes, I said thousands of years. It's not me saying that. Google will pull various sources dating the site to anywhere from 9,000 years old to upwards of 50,000. This site is special though, because for some reason, one of the greatest civilizations at keeping historical records in the area, the Assyrians, failed to note it in any of their history. They write about the area during the 9th century BCE as if there aren't multi-ton stone structures taking up space in the sky over 20 meters high. So why the historical radio silence? The archaeological evidence collected over the years by multiple different countries says one thing, but the historical records say another. Why is that? Let's look at who is credited with building it, why, and see if it holds up to the good old common sense test. These structures are credited to the Romans, specifically starting around King Herod's time, 4th, 5th century BCE. So we're talking like over 1,000 years as a religious site. 2,000 years, actually. I'm not going to pretend Romans didn't have advanced pulley systems and loads of money and manpower. In fact, a lot of the larger stones found above the foundational stones have what appear to be notches or holes in the side, indicating that they would be used for some kind of pulley system. But let's look at the stones underneath them. Specifically, what's known as the trilithon stones and the stones holding them up. Common sense would tell us that these stones on the bottom are older than stones on the top. These stones make up the base of the Temple of Jupiter and are estimated to weigh a whopping 800 tons. 3 big stones sitting at roughly 19 meters in length, 3.6 meters broad, and 4.2 wide. No holes on the side. The precision of these megaliths is breathtaking, as they are arranged in a way that you cannot fit a single sheet of paper in between them. Some believe that it is nearly impossible that this megalithic site can be attributed to Greek or Roman builders, no matter how good they could have been as architects and engineers. These 3 huge megaliths sit on a row of 19 blocks of granite that measure each 10 meters in length, 4 meters in height, and weighing over 300 tons. You can't even argue that they were there originally because we know the location of the quarry they came from. The quarry is located 1 kilometer or a little over half a mile away and is even at a higher elevation than the temple complex, so obviously they just rolled them down, right? I don't know. I know people that can't stop a refrigerator from sliding down the stairs during moving day, but I'm sure they had a braking system for stones weighing hundreds of tons that they rolled them downhill on the log. First of all, show me anything that rolls that can support 800 tons. The quarry itself contains 3 even larger stones. One named the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, sitting at a light 1,000 tons. Another called the Stone of the South, weighing in at about 1,242 tons. And last but certainly not least, the Forgotten Stone, weighing in at about 1,500 tons, or 3,300,000 pounds for my American folks. Now, what do local legends and myths have to say about this? According to researcher Andrew Collins, Baalbek's first city was built before the Great Flood by Cain, the son of Adam, whom God banished to the land of Nod that lay east of Eden, for murdering his good brother Abel, and he called it after his son Enoch. The citadel, they say, fell into ruins at the time of the deluge and was much later rebuilt by a race of giants under the command of Nimrod, the mighty hunter and king of Shinar of the book of Genesis. What a time when the prospect of the existence of giants building these amazing structures makes more sense than anything else. I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying it's kind of weird. Well, that's all I have for this video. I apologize for the wait, but I have so many things I'm researching and work and all that good stuff. But really, it's hard to take this information and make it digestible. At this point, the truth is like vegetables, and I'm trying to convince people that it may be hard to swallow at first, but it's great for you in the long run. Still don't really know how to end these, so here's some random pictures that don't really have anything to do. I just found it during the research of this video. Probably never use them again, but they're pretty weird. Stay safe wherever you are, and if no one told you, I love you, and I believe you have the potential to be great. Thank you for watching.